This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Everywhere you turn, it's the same old sports talk, the same headlines, the same news, and the same boring information. This podcast is here to change all of that. We bring you hot sports takes, winning sports betting strategy and picks, reliable gaming industry news, and breaking interviews with some of the biggest names in sports business. My name is Ryan Knuppel, and welcome to the Knup Sports Show.
We are here today with a very special guest, Jeremy Levine. Jeremy, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Jeremy is one of the, I'd call him a pioneer influencer in the DFS, daily fantasy sports space. Really started off early in the years of DFS with Star Street and now has Draft. And Jeremy, we just kind of want to walk through and kind of get an idea of, I don't know, what you're up to next and what you've been doing. So Star Street, back in 2008, you kind of jumped in this DFS space and formed Star Street Sports, kind of one of the first daily fantasy sports sites. Explain a little bit how that came about and kind of what sparked your interest in the DFS space and kind of how you got started with that.
Yeah, for sure. It was actually 2009. I was kind of second half of my last semester in college, and I saw a company out there called One Season that had created a sports stock market, which is an idea I had ever since I was a little kid collecting sports cards. And I had already written up a kind of business plan for that and a model of how the market would work before I saw One Season. Always was worried it may be illegal. But then when I saw this company raise, I believe it was around $3.5 million from a reputable venture firm, Charles River Ventures, and get a lot of press coverage when they launched, I immediately said, I remember telling all my roommates, my dad, my mom, like, this is what I'm doing when I graduate. I almost dropped out of college about 2 months before I finished. My dad convinced me not to, probably a smart move. But then as soon as I left college, in college, I was already trying to kind of figure out how to get something started. But at that time, I knew nothing, knew no one, not technical, no money. So it wasn't the easiest thing to get going. But over time, I kind of was able to find people to help, find some engineers, get into this program in Boston called Techstars, which is kind of an incubator accelerator, raised some money, probably got turned down about 200 times before I got my first yes. But made some progress on the sports stock market idea over kind of the next couple of years. But then kind of realized after a couple of years of that we were just building a game that was a little too complex and too hardcore, and users, especially kind of first-time users, it was tough to get them on board, and once they were on board, it's tough for them to have a good first experience because it was so complex. That's when we saw the very early signs of growth in daily fantasy at the time, FanDuel, Draft Street. And we at the time, I think it was February 28th, in January of 2011, that we decided we were going to build a daily fantasy game, and then February 28th, we launched it. So a couple months before DraftKings ended up launching. And we launched the first version of our daily fantasy game right alongside the real money sports stock market. And within 2 weeks, we had made more money than we had in 2 years with the sports stock market. So we quickly realized that's where we needed to focus, and that started the path into kind of daily fantasy for me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's funny you speak of One Season because, as you know, I was back in those days too. I was messing around and dabbling in daily fantasy, and I think I met you back in the One Season days. And I don't think very many daily fantasy people have heard of that old platform. That's kind of a blast from the past when you bring that one up. That's kind of fun.
Totally. There was Pro Trade, which never ended up being real money, but did a kind of sports stock market type game. That was Mike Kearns and Jeff Ma, who I know well. Mike Kearns is actually an investor in Draft. And then, of course, One Season, then Star Street came out with the sports stock market. So back in the sports stock market days.
So what was it like? So you started up Star Street, you kind of, started going along that path, and then FanDuel, DraftKings, kind of just absolutely go crazy with their marketing. They blow up, they both kind of emerge as the clear number one, number two in the space. What was it like for you competing with that? And because I assume you consider yourself direct competition to them at that point. And what was that like, and how did that feel? And did you feel like you were gaining on them, or was it always kind of you're behind them? How did that feel for you?
Yeah, so I'm realizing I actually now got the year wrong. It was 2012 when we launched the daily fantasy game.
Okay.
And I know kind of for most of 2012 we were neck and neck with DraftKings. They were kind of growing up. They had raised a couple more rounds than us. They were close to 40 people. We were 4, and we were close to neck and neck.
Sure.
And then they just started pulling away. They kind of came out with a very aggressive strategy of raise money, spend money, tons of overlay, tons of marketing, and it got them to where they got with the heights, and I think it also kind of led to a lot of the kind of problems daily fantasy had at the end of 2015, early 2016. But yeah, after a couple years of Starship, I thought we built a great product, great user experience, and we had a lot of loyal players who loved the platform. We had the partnership with Playboy, where we threw our live events at the Playboy Mansion. People obviously loved that. But quickly became apparent that FanDuel and DraftKings were just pulling away and would need to raise a ton of money. We kind of knew what was coming. Maybe not quite the scale it did in 2015, but we had an idea that was coming in terms of the kind of historic marketing spends from FanDuel and DraftKings. So that's actually when we made the decision to sell Star Street. We thought we could build a kind of simpler, fairer kind of mobile game that was just kind of way more casual, could appeal to more people, would be simpler to play. And we had the idea for Draft, so we ended up selling what we had of Star Street and kind of using that money immediately started Draft.
Right. So you sold Star Street to DraftKings, correct? And then
Yep.
How long was it before you went into the draft mode? And the follow-up question to that is, I guess, what's different about draft, and why did you want to take that route instead of just keep working on Star Street?
Yeah, so it was immediate. We immediately started working on draft. I called Nigel, FanDuel CEO, I called Jason, DraftKings CEO, and basically said, hey guys, we're going to be building this mobile game, and to do that, we're getting rid of what we have at Star Street. What are you interested in? So that's kind of what led to the sale of Star Street. And then, yeah, the big difference or the core difference with draft is it's a draft.
Sure.
So rather than doing a salary cap kind of building your lineup, you do a draft just like what people do at the beginning of their season-long leagues, except it's for a week and it's for money. So you can draft with 10 people, you can draft head-to-head, you can do a draft with your friends, you can do public drafts, you can do it for any sport.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I mean, that you almost had to go a little different route instead of, the same old stuff. And I think you clearly have done that with draft. And now congrats. The latest news is you sold draft to who? Paddy Power and Betfair, just a month or so ago, correct?
Yeah, to Paddy Power Betfair. That was May 9th. We closed the deal. Obviously a really, really big deal for us. They're the dream partner. They're the leaders in online regulated gaming spaces in the world and in America already. They own TVG, the largest horse racing network, and they're a perfect partner for us. They're really excited about kind of our opportunity, our vision, and basically have given us a lot of money and said they want to stay out of our way and want us to go as fast as we can. So it's been great. It's been mayhem since acquisition, but all positive. We're tripling the team. We're getting prepped to spend about 100 times what we spent last year on marketing. Obviously grow the user base many times with that, and just keep on building out the best product and the best user experience we can.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to ask. What's next? So you're still part of draft. You're still leading the charge there now, just with a lot of financial backing from these two companies. Can you give us some insight of what's next? Is it just going to be a lot of marketing, like you said, and a lot more dollars put into it, or is there going to be some enhancements or any kind of big technology changes or anything that we're going to see come football season?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot. We're always improving the product. We were 10 people at the time of acquisition. We're 15 right now. We're on our way to 30. Luckily, the entire team that was with us pre-acquisition is still with us, and I think it's going to be with us for a long while. Amazing, very talented product tech team. And yeah, I mean, we're building some big things so we can have kind of larger tournaments. We're actually building a season-long kind of best ball draft game, so people can do it's the draft only, right? So it fits perfectly with our product. You do a draft, there's no management whatsoever. There's no lineup setting, there's no trades, there's no waiver wires. You just do the draft, so it fits perfectly into our platform. And just working on a bunch of different marketing partnerships, different marketing channels, making sure we're doing unique stuff that really leverages our product and our user base. So we'll be able to do drafts against some influencers that you'll most definitely know, and some kind of fantasy celebrities you've most definitely heard of.
Oh, that sounds awesome. That sounds great. Well, I have a lot of respect for you in the industry. I know I've followed your journey since the beginning, and I really have a lot of respect for you. And something you said early on seems to be a common theme of successful people in this industry is, you were told no, 200 or so times on Star Street on getting money and things like that. And you just kept going through. You just had to keep going through and not quit. And look where you are today. So congrats to you. That's just awesome. Where can people find, the listeners on this, they're daily fantasy, they're gaming enthusiasts, so they're probably all playing draft already, but if not, where can they find it? Just in the App Store? Where are they going to find it?
I hope they're playing, but if not, go on the App Store and type in draft. Will come up first in the App Store, the Play Store. If you're on the web, go to playdraft.com. Yep. If you want to play against me directly, go to playdraft.com/Jeremy Levine on any of the platforms and send me a challenge.
That sounds like a challenge. I may have to do that, Jeremy.
So let's do it. Let's get a game going.
All right, cool. And where can they find more about you yourself, more about your journey? Are you on Twitter? Are you? Where can they find some insight on Jeremy?
Twitter's a good platform. Twitter's a good platform to be in touch in general with me, Jerry Levine on Twitter.
Okay. Well, we won't take any more of your time. I really, really appreciate you joining us today, and hopefully we'll have you on again when the next the next big news comes out. So thanks again, Jeremy. We appreciate you being here.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. We'll do our best to make some more news happen soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Knup Sports Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our iTunes channel today. Plus, visit us at knupsports.com for more picks, previews, strategy, and news. That's knupsports.com.